Hey everyone, for today's video I'm going to be doing a skill breakdown for Sir Bedivere. Sir Bedivere is an Old Faith Vanguard that you recruit through the Old Faith alignment. You need 7 points in order to unlock his recruitment mission. It's definitely one of the tougher recruitment missions, so be careful before you go into that. But unfortunately at the moment, he isn't really worth the amount of effort for it. He's definitely considered the weakest Vanguard right now. He has a couple skill issues that the other Vanguards don't have, and definitely seems to kind of be trying to lean into this trap master kind of playstyle, where you're just throwing down a lot of traps with him, and honestly, it's just not that efficient at the moment. I mean, Vanguards do so much damage with their sneaking around, getting surprise bonuses and backstabs, that it just so vastly outscales the damage he can do with his traps. There's really not much point in using them. That being said, I have tried to use him in this trap playstyle, and it's fairly fun, and it does decent damage. It's not like it's bad damage, it's just comparing this to how I could be playing him like pretty much just every other Vanguard. There's a very noticeable difference right now. I've been thinking about trying to, put out a build video with these traps just to show what they are capable of and show, honestly, how ineffective. It's not really a strong build, but devs did say that they do plan to buff him in the coming balance patch, which should be coming out with the June update, I believe. And they said that's going to be in the latter half of the month, so relatively soon, I think. And once that comes out, we'll see how he's doing then. Maybe he'll be better. I don't know if they're going to be changing his skills around a whole lot. There's one in particular, but I figured might as well put out this video now, and we'll just see what happens when the patch comes out. We're starting here with Tier 1, and you'll notice at first glance, his skill tree, for the most part, is extremely similar to other Vanguards. There's just a couple differences, really. We're looking at Strike, 3 AP, 75% weapon damage for 2 hits. That's standard. These upgrades tend to vary a bit depending on the Vanguard, though. For his, he does have Poison Blade, so he's going to be afflicting that Poison Dot and that Poison Damage debuff on enemies. He has Sinister Blow for a 15% weapon damage upgrade. Finishing Blow gets 1 AP when killing a unit with a strike. This is one you normally want to take with your Vanguard. And then Relentless, increase damage by 20% against bleeding units. This is one you really only want to take if he's, 1, going to be striking a lot, and 2, you have someone to enable bleeds. The only way Bedivere has a way to set himself up with bleeds is with his Bear Trap, which we'll get to later. Now for his mobility move, and this is a huge reason why he's considered the worst Vanguard, and it's not even that big of a difference, I think, but it's just noticeably worse than Jump. He has Sprint, and when you're the only one with Sprint, and it's a really not good move, and every other Vanguard has Jump, you just become the worst. The hero will use all of his AP that he has left and gains 2 movement AP per 1 regular AP that was consumed. So you can get an insane amount of movement with this move. The problem is, though, you have no AP left over to do anything with any of this movement. So you can't even cross the map and then go hide. You cross the map and you're done. That's it. You just stand there. And you don't reserve any AP into the next turn because it's all movement AP. And, I mean, it has a 3-turn cooldown. I don't even know why it has a 3-turn. It could have a 1-turn, and it still would not get that much use. It's really not great, just straight up. The only time you're going to use this move is if he's starting to get surrounded, a bunch of enemies closing in, and you just need to get him the hell out of there and put some huge distance between him and whoever they are. With the upgrades, there's Slip Through. While sprinting, the hero ignores opportunity attacks. This is good early on, I guess, for that scenario I just mentioned. Eventually, you do get a passive that just makes you immune to opportunity attacks all the time, so this becomes obsolete. Nimble-footed, reduce the cooldown by 1. Again, no one's going to be using this on cooldown, so this is actually kind of pointless. Elusive dash, you gain 25% dodge until the start of your next turn. This one actually isn't bad. It kind of helps compensate for the fact that you can't hide a little bit, because it makes it less likely for hits to actually connect to you. And then Stag Target, plus 1 AP for the next turn after using Sprint. So basically, your next turn, you get that kind of bonus AP that you would normally gain for starting your turn hidden. It's still not great. I'm just, trying to put a good spin on it. This move is terrible. This is really probably the only skill I see really getting reworked when the patch comes out. The rest of it, I just kind of imagine the damage numbers on the traps will probably go up. I think they could definitely benefit off that. Sprint, I'm honestly hoping for and expecting a huge rework. Speaking of traps, we have Bear Trap. Every Vanguard has it. It's pretty normal. Range of 4, AP cost of 1. This is with upgrades. It's fairly decent. It's really cheap. And you throw the trap down. If an enemy walks over it, they take 100% weapon damage and become slowed. It's a pretty good trap, especially if there's some good bottlenecks, like those catacomb maps, where it's really easy to predict where they're going to run over it. Take some damage, slow them, and prevent them from getting to you. The damage is okay. I mostly see this as a preventative maneuver. You want to use this to stop enemies from reaching you and give them a little bit of damage along the way. With the first upgrade, Bleeding Glash, I'm pretty sure that's a typo and should be Bleeding Gash. It causes bleeding, 15% weapon damage at the start of their turn. That's pretty good, extra dot. Shackles, reduce their AP by 2. This is great with the slow, just really helps hamper them from reaching you. Precision, 15% more weapon damage. And then the Handy Trap, reduce the cost by 1, decrease the maximum number of active traps by 2. This one's a little tricky. I have mixed feelings on this. A lot of the times you're not going to be able to hit the maximum amount of traps you're capable of placing at a given time, because especially if you don't take this, it's like 8 traps, I think, and that's actually pretty hard to do. So, but sometimes you can just go off your own experience. If you find yourself hitting the trap cap a lot, you may want to reconsider not using this one, because 2 costs for Bear Trap isn't bad at all either. Like, 1 obviously is really good, 2 is still pretty good. We have Hide, the standard, you go into Hidden, enable surprise attack. We take all the bonuses on this, plus 2 movement after being revealed and keeping the bonus, the extra surprise damage, extra movement AP while starting Hidden, and minus detection range. Scout, plus perception, movement AP. He does have only moderate range on his trap placement, so having extra movement to position himself to then throw the traps down is actually really useful. Low profile, enemies prioritize attacking other units. If this hero, Bedivere, is 6 tiles away or further, basically archers won't target him. I do pretty much empty out my AP on placing traps with him, so I don't end my turn in Hidden a lot. So this ability actually is quite handy, because he does have a lot of times where he is not hidden. And then counterattack. Like I said, because he's not hidden, he is more open to being attacked, so having counter strike is good. Going into tier 2, standard throwing dagger, 8 range, 1 cooldown. This is alright. It's decent. Just get some extra free damage in, really. AP cost of 4. With the upgrades, we're increasing the range by 2, increasing the damage by 15%, and making it poison. There is the upgrade for 2 throws. This is usually not a bad pick. Gas Trap. This is a good trap, but it's so expensive, especially on Bedivere. It's just not worth it a lot of the time. I'd rather place several other traps than this one gas trap. There's some times where I definitely see a huge group of them lumping up, coming down a bottleneck, then I'll throw a gas trap in. This one really should have its AP reduced in order to be worth it. I think they're greatly overestimating how useful that lingering cloud is. Or maybe I'm underestimating it. I don't know. Just it doesn't feel like it's strong enough to warrant this cost. Anyways, as you can see, it does have a 3x3 AoE, 100% weapon damage, plus a 25% weapon damage persistent effect for the following 2 turns. You actually need an upgrade for it to cause the poison debuff, and it's a higher than average poison debuff dot that is placing on them standard weapon reduction, weakening them with enfeeble and slowing them with thick cloud. Corrosive gas makes them lose armor. Again, I've mentioned this all the time. I only really take armor loss effects on my heroes if I'm not really running a champion or if I'm just struggling with armor break in general. This passive, Master of Traps, this is pretty much the only hero that I think is worth taking this on. +1 range for your trap skills. And then with Deactivate Trap, you never take this with anyone. He's not going to be running around a whole lot. He's going to be placing the traps himself. Not that I think this is a good effect anyways, losing 2 AP for stepping on a trap. I mean, it's better than, I guess, getting slowed and taking damage. But ideally, if your perception is decent, you'll never step on a trap anyways. Serrated traps, extra damage. This should be higher, honestly, I think. Barbed traps +1 turn duration for basically effect over time abilities with your traps, which is literally just gas trap. This could just say +1 turn duration to gas trap. And better tools, +1 active trap. This does help combat this handy trap thing right here. So I think at the moment with these 2 upgrades, the maximum traps Bedivere can have out right now is 6. So without this, it would be 8. And then Robust for some extra tankiness, which is useful if he's not going to be hiding a lot. And then Scout. Going into Tier 3, we actually have a really good trap. Lightning Trap. This has a range of 5, AP cost of 3. And it does have a extended range at which it can trigger. If an enemy passes by a space adjacent to the trap, it will go off. So it is effectively a 3x3 AoE trigger range. Upon being triggered, they take 150% weapon damage. And with upgrades, the best one I think is Thunder Flash. They become shocked. So they lose a chunk of their AP. If they're armored, half of their AP. And it greatly reduces their ability to do anything else on their turn. With Farcaster, we're increasing the range by 1. This is your range to throw it. That's why it has a range of 5 instead of 4. And then Thunderstrike increased the damage by another 15%. There is another upgrade with Forked Discharge. It can be triggered from an additional tile away, but now it costs 1 more. I just think this is unnecessary. The default trigger range is actually really good as is, I think. So you don't need this extra one, and the 3 AP cost I think is very good. Bringing it up to 4 I think greatly reduces the amount of traps you'll be able to place in a single turn. So just in terms of overall efficiency, I think you want to skip this one. And then everything else in Tier 3 is just standard Vanguard stuff. We have Backstab. I didn't take this because, again, I'm not going to be doing a lot of actual strikes with Bedivere. At base, plus 30% weapon damage, bring it up to 40%, an extra 20% if it's also a surprise attack, plus 5 armor piercing, and applying a 20% vulnerability debuff. You do take Assassination because this applies to all abilities, plus 20% weapon damage if the target has 25% or less vitality, bring up that damage bonus to 30%, an extra 15% if they're bleeding or poisoned, bring up that threshold up to 40%, and then gain 1 AP when killing a unit. And then, I actually referenced this one earlier, quick-footed, become immune to opportunity attacks, Scout for that other movement AP, and Master Assassin, starting your turn in Hidden, you gain plus 1 AP the next turn, and Hide now also only costs 1 AP. So that's all of Sir Bedivere's skills. There's definitely a lot that would be moved around if I wanted to make him more optimal, but I was trying to lean into the trap stuff, and even then, there's some things I think I'll probably move around to make the trap build a little more optimal or when, I should say. They did confirm they were going to buff him when they do buff him. See how effective that is, and then put out a build guide then. At the moment, largely just want to avoid him. It's sad to say, a lot of the heroes in this game are very good, very strong, sort of in their own ways. Even if they aren't the strongest for their class, they are still at least strong enough in like a vacuum where you can still bring them and they'll do fine. Bedivere does technically hit that mark. He's still a Vanguard. You can still give him backstab and assassinate and all the other stuff, like every other Vanguard, and just play him that way, and he'll still do well enough damage-wise. Lacking jump, though, is a pretty noticeable drop in power compared to the other ones. If you just like him, you like his look, I mean, he uses an axe for his melee weapons. I mean, that's kind of cool. So if you just dig his vibe and want to bring him, you won't really have much issues, but you will notice situations will pop up where you're like, man, I wish I had jump. Sad to say that this is the state of him right now. But here's looking forward to late June, see what the devs do with him. If you made it through the entire video, thank you for watching.